Hey guys, just finished building this shed here in the Adelaide Hills. Absolutely loving it. It's wicked. It's everything that I had hoped for. However, it's the middle of winter and it's getting a little bit too chilly for my liking in here. So in this video, I'm going to try my best to build some stud walls and chuck in some insulation. Let's get to it. After extensive research into insulation, I ended up settling on Foilboard, which is a polystyrene core sandwiched between two aluminium sheets glued together. Now, it's easy to work with, easy to cut. I found that if you did a few shallow passes, you got a better, cleaner cut. And if you went too far in one go, you would get tear out. And that's also to do with the knife that you use. I found the extendable blades where you could get a good, 2-3 centimeters out. You could kind of drag the blade through the cut and get a better result. Now, I chose possibly the worst place to start, and there's just conduits everywhere, power points. I had some bracing as well that I needed to work around, which unfortunately meant I had to cut my board down into smaller pieces, meaning I had more joins. Hang on to your offcuts of board, they do come in handy. I'm using a few bits here as a bit of a spacer up in a section where I wasn't able to get the 20mm gap reliably and held in with tape, so the board acted as a really good spacer here. Okay, we are finally done in here. We've got like a few little things. I need to tape up a few little holes. Originally, I had planned to use just timber blocks and ceiling battens. The timber was going to stand the cladding off the foil board to give it that air gap, and it was going to act as a bit of a thermal break as well to stop conduction of heat coming through the shed frame. And just cutting these up and just using them a little bit, I used a bit up there. I always knew they were flimsy, but I'm just not sold that once it's all screwed up and everything, it's going to be strong enough for my needs. And I was also cutting these timber blocks and marking them all out, and it's just going to take yonks to do that. I'm going to be hanging stuff on the walls here, and I want to future-proof it and make sure it's nice and sturdy. So whatever I do in this area, I know I'm going to be fixing to like a solid wall. I've chosen to go with a stud wall frame in here. And look, it's probably the best, strongest way to do it, no mucking around. It even gives you a nice cavity to put battens in, which I'm probably gonna do. And I don't know if I've gone crazy, with the insulation, I've gone way overboard, but if I do have a cavity there, I'm gonna chuck insulation in it just for peace of mind. Yeah, so I guess the bad things with the stud frame are can be pretty expensive. Like the timber is not cheap. If you don't have a nail gun, you'd be screwing it together, or hand nailing it could be a bit tedious. And if you're not decent on the tools, or you don't even have the right tools, you could be in for a bit of a shit time marking it out, at least for the first bay once you get your head around it. No doubt I'll be like that. But yeah, just going with a stud frame means it's going to be the strongest it can be. And no matter what I do, if I change the area around here and want to hang stuff up, it'll be fine for that. But yeah, next I'll just show you the timber I'm going to be using. I've had this timber sitting around for ages, and mainly because I didn't want to denail it because I thought it'd be a crap job, but only took half an hour in the end. These are actually rafters from a house that was being demolished down the road from my work. I saw an ad on Marketplace saying, bring your tools and come grab what you need. I think the guy was trying to save on filling up the skip, but I thought of it as an opportunity to, get some timber, nothing wrong with it, and give it a new life. There's a few notches in it from, being on a roof, and there's a few splits here and there, but I was able to work around it. The timber itself is 120 by 35, which is just overkill for a stud wall. It was actually quite cumbersome trying to stand the wall up by myself and move it into place. This wall has studs on 600 centers and noggins every 1200. I measured the noggins up from the bottom plate 1200, 1200, and then for the next set of noggins, I measured down from the top plate 1200, 1200, and I continued alternating the noggins for the rest of the wall. Now, the reason I did this was to try and avoid having to trim down bats. It's common to see stud walls with offset noggins. This is so the noggin can be nailed in from both ends. However, I don't have the experience to know whether this affects the bats that go into the wall and whether you need to cut them down a little bit or add a little bit on top to make up the difference of the offset noggin. In the end, I was able to use full bats for most of the wall and then just the half bats for the tops and bottoms. I'm not sure if you're supposed to make walls this way. Alrighty, so this bay is pretty much finished. I did record the whole process. However, I'm still learning how to use a camera, obviously, and a lot of that footage, sadly, was not great and usable. I'll see what I can salvage, which is a bit of a bummer because I went through the whole process. Anyway, I'm gonna do the bay behind me and I'll record that. And then I'm gonna bring you back over here and talk about some of the issues I had with the foil board and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna try and speed run through this bay over here because this took me ages. I feel like this wall came together way faster. I think it might have just been due to experience with using the board itself and working with it. I was also able to use larger sheets in this section, which made it go by quicker. I was still being a little bit pedantic with the taping and just taping up everything I could. Just a bonus tip as well, I noticed that a few of my boards were dusty just from sitting around at Bunnings, and it's a good idea to wipe them down as the dust actually impacts the reflectivity of the foil board itself. Alrighty, that bay is pretty much done. I do need to do the tape on it, but I bloody run out of it. I went to Bunnings yesterday and got everything on my list except that for some reason. I have been using a bit of this, which is just a metalline tape. It's like wider and it's got like a mesh in it, so it's a bit stronger. I've been using this on the ground, like where the slab and the foil board meet, and the top where the foil board and the roof blanket meet. And it just gives me more surface area for a more reliable bond, I guess. And I feel like this stuff, if you press it down onto the slab, it really does stick well. Whereas this reminds me more of just like packing tape, which happens to be reflective. But I think if you're just doing joins between foil board and the steel frame, this stuff is probably better. It's just easier. I wouldn't say it's easy to use. They've both got pros and cons. Like this stuff here's got a backing on it so you can move it into position and it won't stick and tack onto things. But as soon as you peel the foil off, if you do like a whole length, it loves to curl back on itself. This stuff's like really forgiving. Like if you measure off a whole length, it can touch things and you can usually, pick it back off and not tear up the paper or destroy it. And sometimes it even like folds back on itself, and you can usually, if you're careful, you can usually kind of open it back up and have no issues. So this one less so. But yeah, that's my experience with using the tapes. You could do the whole job in one or the other. I had this stuff on hand and I used it on the floor and the top and actually worked really well. So I'll probably use both. Yeah, the next step is I'm gonna go to Bunnings, get some more tape and pick up some timber, and I'll frame up this bay here, and we'll get some insulation and then sheet over the top. Let's go. The second wall came together much more easily and quickly than the first wall. I think just repeating the same procedure made it a bit easier. I kept the noggin spacings and all that kind of stuff to maximize the full-size bats. And the timber itself was just lighter and easy to cut, easy to measure and mark out. And as you can see here, I was able to move it in by myself without too much trouble. all done with that wall, ready for insulation. It's got a mix of those L brackets, some bolts, and a bunch of screws in the back side of the right-hand side there. These are the brackets that I used, and to be honest, I wasn't like heaps sold with how they performed. I guess they're probably not made for this, so that's something to consider. I thought because they've got, like, if you see, they've got slots. I was thinking if you bolt it into if you bolted that to the shed, you'd be able to pull the wall in and out as you need to get it nice and level and plumb and all that stuff. And it turned out to not be an issue. I think especially with old timber, it's always going to be all over the shop anyway, so we're going to have to live with how it is. Maybe a bit different story down there. I reckon for that one, I'm just going to chuck in some bigger, like less of them, but bigger, like maybe 3 or 5 mil brackets. And I think I'll do a better job tying into the uprights as well. I'll chuck some more blocking in it so I can support it all the way up on either side, and maybe even tie it into the ground. I don't know why I was kind of hesitant in drilling into the ground, but it might be the best option. Yeah, so next job is insulation, and then I'm gonna sheet over it. Man, this is getting on to be a bit of a long job, and I was considering turning this into a 2-parter, but I'll chuck the insulation in, and that might be it for this video, I reckon. I'm not sure. We'll see how we go. Look, I'll probably get flamed for not doing that with the correct PPE, but whatever, it was only one wall. Obviously for the next couple of bays and the rest of the shed, I'll probably invest in some proper, like a suit and dust mask and all that kind of stuff. Man, this stuff is wicked. I'm really impressed with how it performed. I haven't even tested it yet, like for thermal, efficiency and all that, but it was just really easy to work with, easy to cut. It didn't pull apart. It didn't like puff up with little glass fibers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not itchy at all. Obviously I wasn't like, man, I used to make a living crawling around in roofs and stuff and getting plumes of it. But on the whole, I am like really happy with how it's turned out. They say like you're meant to get every, like when you put your plywood up or your cladding up, every like square centimeter needs to be touched, and any gaps behind can be an issue. I don't know how like pedantic you need to be with it, but at the moment, I'm just stoked with that. I've got to pull through my PowerPoints. I think there was one here and one there. But I just wanted to get it in just to see what it looks like. And when I finally get around to doing the plywood, I'll, come up with a height around the whole shed that I can keep them all at the same level. I think I'm gonna wrap this video up here and just say foil board, taping, stud wall, insulating. That's it. Like that's what I've done, and if there's plenty of videos on how to hang gyprock and plywood and all that kind of stuff. I'll record the process anyway and just make a video of it, but definitely not a how-to or anything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any feedback, if you're seeing glaring issues with the shed or how I've done things, like I'm all ears. Like this is the first time I've done anything like this, and it's always good to get other people's opinions, good or bad, just so you have like a soundboard, or gives you ideas or things you might not have even thought of before. So I'm definitely all ears in that regard. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. If you guys liked what you saw, chuck us a like, chuck us a comment, consider subscribing and following along and helping me out, giving me some feedback and helping me along the way. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you guys later.